Community Matters.
Hello and welcome to Many Voices, One Community, stories that unite us across Long Island and beyond. I'm Gaitley Stevenson-Mathews. I'm so very pleased to serve as Community Engagement Officer at the Holocaust Memorial and Tolerance Center, of course, where this podcast originates from, the brainchild of Bernie Fershpan. And I am so very pleased today to have as a guest Dr. Tiegerman. I know it's Jeremy Tiegerman,
That's correct.
So I know, of course, the other Dr. Tiegerman, who is your mother.
That's correct.
And how many Dr. Tiegermans are there so far?
Well, there's Dr. Ellen Morris Tiegerman. There's my father, Dr. Saul Tiegerman, and then there's me.
So we've got
Dr.
three.
Jeremy.
Are there any others in the works?
I have
knows?
kiddos, but they're not that close just yet.
So this is what I'd like to do, if you don't mind. I know a little bit about you, but I'd like our listeners and our viewers to kind of have a window into it. As I mentioned to you, right out of grad school, I did some training as an academic language therapist, which were for children and young people with specific language learning disorders, which is the language we used then. I know just enough to get myself into trouble. I know there's been a lot of research, certainly since the 1990s, which was when I was doing that work. But what I'd love to do, if you don't mind, is share with our listeners and our viewers first, just in a nutshell, what Tiegerman is, Tiegerman School. And then I would like to just have a window into you and with the parents you grew up with and the fact, certainly, I know your mother better than the rest. And certainly a major trailblazer, but looking at your bio and noticing your work, you certainly are a trailblazer in your own right. So I want to hear a little bit about you, and then we're going to take a deep dive into Tiegerman and how that community impacts the world. Because for me, the gift that the people who come through your doors and who go through similar programs across our country, the gift that they bring to our community, those voices, of course, the show is Many Voices, One Community. What a gift and what an impact in so many aspects of the world that they bring. And so I want to kind of end there. So why don't you begin with just a little bit about Tiegerman and then kind of how you ended up as COO of Tiegerman School.
Well, Gaitley, I first want to thank you so much for all that you do, and thank you for having me today.
Thank
I'd
you.
like to have your listeners know a little bit about us, and really appreciate all you do for the community.
Thank you.
With regard to me and Tiegerman, some of your listeners may know that Tiegerman started in 1985, started as the School for Language and Communication Development, and then we rebranded and went to Tiegerman in about 5 or 10 years ago, and it is now turned into a life cycle agency. So in 1985, it started as a preschool program for 36 speech and language impaired children, and it since has grown to 6 school locations. Some in Nassau, and the majority of the rest of the programs are in Queens. And we have adult services, Tiegerman Community Services. So we really have exploded in a good way to service many different individuals from preschool all the way through adulthood.
Wow. So it's interesting because, again, you began in 1985. So I had Dr. Keeper in here, who she began as a pediatrician. And she has just worked with her same community. So now she's actually working with more geriatric because she's been in the business a long time. I'm sure as a school you recognize where your support makes a difference in supporting young people coming up and addressing challenges they may have. And I always think it's so important to drive home the fact we all have gifts. We all have challenges. I think, sadly, in this world, oftentimes there's certain gifts that people, put on a high pedestal and say, "Oh, this is really the thing that we value the most." But certainly, in the little bit of work that I did at Texas Scottish Rite Hospital and through Alta, you come to realize that oftentimes, while there may be a challenge on one end of the spectrum, there is incredible creativity and incredible gifts on the other end of that personality that had we not had that set of talents, our world would be so much darker. I mean, that to me is where I see schools like Tiegerman making a major impact in our world and helping people reach their highest potential. Is that not just one of the greatest things that I think to be in a business, that is what you do? That must be very gratifying. So how long have you been involved and how did you become COO? I know you were principal at one point, is that correct? So share with our viewers a little bit about that journey.
So my journey is 40 years. I started working at School for Language and Communication Development that became Tiegerman in 2007. But because Dr. Tiegerman is my mother, I've been with her through the entire journey. At first, it was kind of just like a job, so I wasn't really sure what my mom did. I just knew that she worked at a school.
Right.
And as I grew a little bit, during summer times when I had school off, because it's a 12-month program, I would go in to work with her on some days when there was no childcare for me at home. And I'd run around. I have a younger brother, Jonathan, who's 3 years younger than me. And we'd run around the building and pop into classrooms, see kids. And when my mom got tired of us harassing everyone, she gave us little tasks around the building to assist the staff. At that point in time, it was a preschool program and a probably grades 1 through 3. And through my formative years, I started to gain an understanding of what she was doing and then really building. When I went to college, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I thought that it may do something with education. My father was a school psychologist, and I came to a decision after college of what I wanted to do. I ended up going to graduate school in a school psychology program and got my doctorate in school community psychology and got my first job outside of graduate school at a preschool program, which is comparable to our preschool program. It's on Long Island called Just Kids. It's a pretty large early childhood program.
Right.
And then I got swooped up by Dr. T a couple years later in 2007. Continued my journey at Tiegerman as a school psychologist initially, which is what I really wanted to do. I was very interested in doing testing, assessments of children with developmental disabilities, working with the classroom staff with helping them with behavior management related issues, and was very, very happy with that. There was a need we had just split and grown from the preschool elementary school in Glen Cove to our first building or location footprint in Queens, which was Woodside. And we grew from the preschool elementary school to a middle school / high school. And I continued on my journey as a school psychologist there. And then after several years was elevated to a coordinator and then got my administrative degree and started my journey as a principal for several years at the Woodside location. After Woodside split up and went to Richmond Hill, which then became our high school, I then spent several years there as the principal there.
Well, I have to say, I love, so my mother was a nurse. And there's something, I've always thought educators and nurses, to me, that's like two of the greatest professions in the world. And I think in part because it's lifting up and supporting and caring for people and passing things along. And certainly in things like, oh my gosh, there is a auto repair local shop in town where the gentleman who started, his sons work in it. Same with the bakeries, that kind of stuff. And I'm sure it also happens in education. But what a beautiful thing that your journey with your family is so grounded and connected to education. And the fact that, you know, what your mom began it, right? She is the founder and executive director. What is her title?
She's the chief executive officer,
Chief
CEO.
executive. So she is the CEO. You are the COO.
That's correct.
But the fact that legacy continues and the fact that your family is a part of that is beautiful. As I mentioned when you walked in, I, of course, know your mom, and I didn't know which Dr. Tiegerman I would get, but I know your mom and certainly have such respect for her, and again, respect for you and what you bring to it. But I was at the ribbon cutting. I was a councilman at the time, but I was at the ribbon cutting for the what is people in Glen Cove think of as the Cole School.
Our middle school.
Your middle school. And how many years ago was that now?
Have to be about 6 or 7 years ago.
Right. Wow. It's hard to believe. But as you walked in, I said, that is when we met. And I remembered you because I when I looked you up online, I said, oh, that's the other Dr. Tiegerman. So I didn't know about your dad at that time.
Yes.
But what a great thing. And so why don't you chat two things. A little bit about, so the two schools that are here in Glen Cove. And I'm familiar with Principal Katz. I can't think of her.
Katzman.
Karen
Katzman.
Katzman. Oh my gosh, what a mover and a shaker.
She is tremendous.
I will say, I know her. She's at the elementary school, correct? So I'm a founding member of the North Shore Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I served as their second vice president for many years. And we engaged with them. And in fact, that organization still does for Hispanic heritage. And we bring in dancers and we talk about the dance and the culture. And what a glorious time. And I will say, when you walk into the door, and I know a little bit more about the elementary school than I do the middle school. I've spent a little less time at the middle school. But you feel the creativity, you feel the warmth, and there's an electricity, and there is a sense of appreciation for what everybody brings to the table. At least that was my sense of it. And then North Shore Hispanic Chamber of Commerce also honored Karen. And I think she was blown away by it, but certainly a wonderful celebration. But that school and the fact that for those who live in Glen Cove and in this vicinity, I know I see the buses coming and going. So you have students come from all over Long Island and Brooklyn and Queens, I'm assuming.
The 5 boroughs.
The 5 boroughs, all 5 boroughs. Right, so that reach is big. But how very nice for those locally, if you have a child here who might need the services that you guys provide in their elementary or middle school, how would they learn more about it? Where does that journey begin?
Sure. So we have obviously presence on the internet, through social media. Clearly, they can come to our buildings and they will get a tremendous, wonderful tour. They are lovely school buildings on our Glen Cove Avenue building, which is our preschool elementary school. And of course, as you mentioned, the Cole School, which is our gorgeous middle school. They could also, come in and take tours, like I mentioned to you. And they certainly, if they have concerns about their children, they should speak to maybe their pediatrician, medical providers that they are working with, or they could go to their schools that they're presently in, whether it be a preschool or the local school district, which is the Glen Cove School District, Locust Valley, North Shore Schools, and speak to a teacher, administrator there about their concerns, and they would guide them on their journey. They do have some of those services in the school districts.
Right.
And so if they have concerns, they would try to meet their needs there. But if they're not able to meet their needs, they may redirect them to a school like ours, a non-public school. Right.
So the other thing I wanted to bring up, and the lady who was the family counselor, I can't even think of her name right now, who does the Family Connection.
Oh, Toya Davis.
Toya, yes.
And you had her.
Yes, I had her on the program. Toya,
yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't remember your name sitting here. It's like these lights, my brain goes away.
Yes.
But Toya was here, and one of the things she brought up is people wrongly assume that it's a magnet school, but it's not at all, correct?
It definitely is not. It's definitely not. We do have some Glen Cove residents and districts, students that come to us, but we are state supported. You have to go through a very rigorous process to get into our school. So public school children will generally remain in their public schools, and if the public school cannot meet their needs, then they would be referred to a program like ours, or to, as many people probably know on the island, a BOCES program.
Right. And so it's always tricky because we don't want to label this person that or this person something else. But for lack of a better use of words, so if a family, back when I first did my work, people, were in the schools. They didn't identify people. So if you didn't do tests and know what a child needed, you weren't able to modify the teaching, which is it. That whole idea. If the child isn't learning, don't blame the child. Look at how you're teaching. We're all wired differently, and what a
absolutely
gift. What a gift. But the whole, if someone has a student, whether they're I believe if they're on the spectrum or if they have been diagnosed with dyslexia or another type of learning challenge, what students can benefit from your programs? If I am a parent, what would I look for in my child who may, for one reason, it's not connecting for them? What kind of students do you all serve?
Sure. So our bread and butter, as we used to be called by School for Language and Communication Development, is children that are language impaired. Now, children that are language impaired may, through a spectrum, look very, very different. So in addition to having language impairments, children may be on the autism spectrum. They may have learning disabilities. They may have the other developmental disabilities like ADHD, or they may have emotional disabilities. So really at the core is language disordered children, generally who are functioning probably 2 to 3 grade level below their same age peers. And what makes our program unique, besides our very strong language immersion program, which is the Tiegerman learning model that Dr. Tiegerman developed, is our class sizes and intensive therapies that we have. So we have a tremendous workforce of therapists, at least 20 to 30 speech language pathologists in our Glen Cove Elementary School alone.
Wow.
10 to 15 OTs and PTs. So everyone who needs therapeutic services will get that. And the class ratios are unique to Tiegerman alone. Many special education classroom ratios may look similar across the state. They may be 12 1-2s, or 8 1-2s, or 6 1-2s. So this is the first number is no more than 6, 8, or 10 or 12 students to a class, 1 certified teacher, and 2 teaching assistants or paraprofessionals in a classroom. We are different. We, Dr. T, really battled and advocated for our students' needs and was able to work out with the New York State Education Department a ratio of 12-2. So no more than 12 students in a classroom, but 2 certified teachers in the classroom and 2 teaching assistants. So that really allows the classroom to break up into smaller groups. And in addition to the 2 teaching assistants or paraprofessionals, have those very skilled instructors in the classroom to meet the needs of the children.
Sure. I will say, again, having worked briefly in the world of education, what a great ratio. And that, too, that makes all the, because in some ways you get 3 times as much done.
Exactly.
It's not 2.
Exactly.
It's 3 times as much done because, if you've got a good team, then you're able to move the students in a direction where they can be as strong as they can be. As mentioned earlier, it was back in the 80s and early 90s that I worked with young people and also adults with specific language challenges. And at that time, it was at Texas Scottish Rite Hospital, and it was a literacy training film for those, because we were reaching out to many people out. We called them the boonies, but in the far reaches of Texas, which is a very big state. But one of the things, and again, it was such an education for me, that people emphasized, and I felt like this was so important, that whether it's reading or whether it's spoken language or however you get your information and translate that people don't realize that some of our greatest minds, they say Einstein could hardly spell. He was mathematically, he was incredible. They talk about Leonardo da Vinci as one that I often hear brought up. But you and I know, and certainly this day and age, it's different than it was even 20 years ago.
Of course.
People recognize the great talents that everyone brings, and people recognize that we all have different skill sets. So you've been in the business of education, been in the business of education at Tiegerman for a long time, and been in the business of education working with this community a long time. Do you mind sharing maybe some of the success stories? People who you just have come up through the ranks, you have been a part of your school and where they are today, and how being part of that system made a difference.
Well, I can tell you, you had Toya Davis come in, and
Right.
She obviously is very involved in the community with Rotary. But her story, her connection to us is her son, Jonathan Davis, who was was in the first preschool class
Wow.
at Tiegerman. And I essentially grew up with him. He was very friendly with me. At that time, when I was running around the building, he was in the program and going through the program, and we became very friendly and close over the years. He is our first success story because he was part of our first class, where he ended up transitioning back to his public school, and he ended up going to college, graduating from Howard University, and has a very successful career at this point. But he's just one in the thousands upon thousands of lives that we have really worked with and assisted over the years, and many of them come back and come visit us and tell us about how they're doing. At this point in time, and it's just very, very tremendous. Gaitley, I'm happy that you brought up the strengths piece, while the weaknesses piece is really always very highlighted and paid strong attention to. I can't tell you how many of our students, while having weaknesses, have such tremendous strengths.
Right.
And we are amazed every day with working with them about, while there are things that they struggle with, there are so many things that they can do. And that's our jobs as educators, is working with their parents to say, okay, we're going to get them to this point and get them to a point where I think that they can be sufficient or functional with what they have to do. But let's also focus on what all these brilliant talents that they have, and these outshine manyfold the weaknesses that they come to us with.
Right. And I hope it translates in your voice for those who watch this podcast, or rather listen to this podcast instead of watching it. But when, just in your face, when you talk about Toya's son and that relationship, and that the warmth in your face is just really beautiful. And end of the day, it is about connecting with people and finding that the strength we see in the community. So I have so many different, I had a cantor here, then I had Father P, who was the priest at our Greek Orthodox Church, and I always like to talk about community. And again, the name of the show is Many Voices, One Community, and how we come together. And I you think about even 50 years ago, 60 years ago, there's so many people who you all serve now who a family may have just said, well, you can't learn. You can choose a different, we'll find something different for you. It's again, I'm just thinking about the students who I worked with.
Sure.
And the parents who believed in them.
Yeah.
And the educators who believed it, and to see a life transform. And that voice could have easily been left behind.
Well, I have a good story for you, Gaitley.
Okay, you got it. We've got like 2 minutes. But
all right,
you
but
got
quickly,
it, my friend.
when you
It's
get
yours.
get Dr. Tiegerman in, she's going to tell you how she started this program.
Okay.
But she observed firsthand about her sister who had a traumatic brain injury at a young age, my aunt.
Wow.
And she fell off playground equipment, and they were looking for schools for her. And at that time, in the 50s, there weren't any special education programs. And what was going to be recommended to her was an institutionalized kind of setting. My grandfather, Morris, who is my mom's father, refused to allow this to happen. And he said, I'm going to come home every single day, and I'm going to purchase the textbooks, and I'm going to instruct you myself. And what she witnessed was this evolution for my aunt and growth and starting to regain the skills that she had lost. And she ended up going on to finishing high school, going on to college, going on to medical school. And that is what really allowed my mom to have this experience where she said, this is what I want to do. And while my experience is slightly different from her,
right,
seeing her over the years and be so passionate and persistent with things where sometimes I didn't have that same feeling in myself, but it really grew on me and said, I think this is what I want to do too, based on, what I've seen from you,
right.
Mom.
And that is part of that journey.
Yes.
And that is legacy.
Yes.
Let's be really clear.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's fate, luck, happenstance, you have to be grateful.
Yes.
That is it, is it not? You have to be grateful and say thank you and find it when the days are hard.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That is where you draw on because you know it can work.
Yes.
Dr. Jeremy Tiegerman, it has been a pleasure having you on this program.
Gaitley, thank you for having
25 minutes goes by like nothing,
Very quick.
correct?
We can keep doing this.
Oh my gosh, we could be here for 2 more episodes. What a gift. Again, thank you so much. I'm Gaitley Stevenson-Mathews. You have been watching Many Voices, One Community. Make sure you go to hmtcli.org/HMTV, Humanity Matters. Of course, that is the brainchild of Bernie Firstpan, and we're so appreciative to you, Bernie. Thank you to all who do this. And also, go to that website so that you can see all of the other tremendous podcasts that the Holocaust Center is putting out via HMTV. Thank you so much for watching, and look for their next broadcast.